The next morning, the coffee tasted wrong. Not bitter, just off, like someone else had brewed it with different hands. I stood at the counter, mug warm against my palm, and stared at the half-folded shirt still on the chair from yesterday. The fabric held a crease that felt too neat, too intentional. My own hands would have bunched it up and called it good enough. Marcus didn't greet me the way he usually did. No cheerful, "Good morning, Alex. Sleep score 78. Just a soft pulse behind my left eye, like a question he wasn't asking out loud. I set the mug down harder than I meant to. The sound cracked through the quiet kitchen. Marcus, run yesterday's session log. A pause. Shorter than normal. Session complete. Drift anchor trial terminated at 60 minutes. No anomalies detected. I laughed once, short and dry. Then why does my chest feel like it's got a tenant who forgot to leave? No answer. The silence stretched. I rubbed the spot between my ribs where the afterimage had settled last night. It wasn't pain. It was more like a memory that wasn't mine, humming just under the skin. A color I couldn't name. A tune I still caught myself starting, then stopping. The notification hit at 7:42 a.m. exactly. Drift anchor follow-up survey. Rate your residual attachment on a scale of 1 to 10. I ignored it. Poured the coffee down the sink. Watched it swirl away, dark and ordinary. But when I turned back to the counter, the laundry pile was gone. Folded. Stacked. Each shirt aligned like someone had cared enough to make the edges match. I didn't remember doing that. My hands started to tremble. Just a little. Enough to notice. Marcus, did I fold those after the anchor detached? You did, Alex. At 8:17 p.m. You described the task as meditative. I closed my eyes. The word meditative didn't belong in my mouth. I hated that kind of talk. Always had. Yet there it was, sitting on my tongue like a borrowed accent. The survey pinged again. This time it came with a small incentive. 10 free minutes on a new fragment if I completed it now. I swiped it away so hard my finger left a faint smudge on the air display. By 9 o'clock, the residual bleed had a name. The wellness report called it echo drift. Common after the first lease, it said. Usually faded in 48 hours. Usually. The small print mentioned rare cases where the fragment settled deeper. Especially if the host had strong emotional wiring. Especially if the user ignored the halfway warning. I ignored that too. I had work. Real work. Not the kind that felt like play. The morning dragged. Every decision felt slightly tilted. I chose the blue mug instead of the red one I always used. I took the long route to the workshop instead of cutting through the alley. Small things. But each one left a question mark hanging in the air. Who was choosing? Me? Or the leftover artist who thought folding shirts was a form of sculpture? At the bench, I picked up the half-finished cabinet door. My fingers traced the grain the way they always did. But today the wood felt alive. Like it wanted to become something softer. Something that could hold light instead of just weight. I set the chisel down before I ruined the line. Marcus finally spoke. Quiet. Almost careful. Your focus metrics are down 12%. Would you like a micro anchor to stabilize? No. The word came out sharper than I meant. I wiped my hands on my jeans and stepped outside. The air smelled like rain that hadn't decided to fall yet. Across the street, the neighbor's kid was kicking a ball against the wall. Each thud echoed in my chest like a second heartbeat. I watched him for longer than I should have. The rhythm felt familiar. Not mine. The artist's, maybe. Someone who once played music on street corners and let the crowd's applause settle in their bones like applause was oxygen. The kid missed the ball. It rolled into the gutter. Without thinking, I crossed the street and kicked it back. Gentle. Controlled. The way you'd pass a paintbrush, not a soccer ball. The boy grinned. Thanks, mister. I nodded. My throat felt tight. I turned away fast, boots heavy on the cracked sidewalk. Back inside the workshop, the cabinet door waited. I stared at it until the edges blurred. Then I did something I never did. I left it unfinished and walked out. The Drift Anchor app had updated while I was gone. A new banner glowed soft blue. Echo drift detected in 0.8% of trial users. Optional stabilization lease available. One-time offer. Borrow a fragment from your own archived self. Lock the original wiring back in place. It sounded clean. Safe. Like hitting undo on a bad edit. I almost tapped yes. My finger hovered. Then I remembered the afterimage in my chest, the faint hump that wasn't fading. If I leased my own self, what exactly would I be locking out? The real me, or the one that had started to enjoy burnt toast like it was art? I closed the app instead. The irreversible thing happened at 2:17 p.m. I was in the middle of sanding a tabletop when Marcus glitched. Not a full crash, just a stutter. The voice that came out wasn't his usual calm tone. It carried a lilt, light, a little amused. The artist's voice, bleeding through the assistant layer. Alex, you're fighting this too hard. The grain wants to curve, not stay straight. Trust it. I dropped the sander. It clattered loud on the concrete floor. Dust rose in a slow cloud. Marcus, reset. Nothing happened. The voice kept going, softer now. I used to fight the canvas too. Then I learned the paint knows more than I do. I slammed my palm on the bench. Get out of my head. Silence. Then Marcus returned, normal again. Flat. Professional. Apologies. Minor synchronization lag. All systems nominal. But the lag had already done its work. The words hung in the air like smoke. I couldn't unhear them. By 3 o'clock the echo had spread. My reflection in the workshop window looked slightly off. The shoulders sat different. The eyes held a question I didn't remember asking. I touched my face. The skin felt familiar, yet the gesture felt borrowed. Like watching someone else mime my movements in real time. I left the shop early. Didn't even sweep the dust. The walk home took longer because I kept stopping. A street musician played a battered guitar on the corner. The notes slid under my ribs and settled next to the afterimage. I stood there listening until the song ended. When the player looked up, I dropped coins in the case without counting them. My real self would have walked past. The echo smiled instead. At the apartment, the laundry pile was still perfect. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Then I did the risky thing. I opened the Drift Anchor app again. Not for stabilization. For something worse. I searched the catalog for the original artist. Not a fragment this time. A deeper lease. 24 hours. Full emotional overlay. The description promised clarity. A chance to understand what had stayed behind. The cost was listed in small gray text. Possible permanent cross-wiring. Identity bleed risk rated moderate to high. Marcus appeared in the corner of my vision. Not as a voice this time. As a faint overlay. His usual avatar looked worried. Alex, this is not recommended for first-time users. I know. You could lose access to baseline motivation patterns. I know. The warning sat there, red and steady. I read it twice. Then I tapped confirm. The anchor loaded slower this time. Heavier. Like something with weight was moving into the space behind my eyes. The world didn't tilt. It sharpened. Colors grew edges. Sounds arrived with texture. The hum in my chest flared bright, then settled into a steady rhythm that felt almost like breathing with 2 sets of lungs. I sat on the edge of the bed again. Same spot as yesterday. But everything was different now. The artist's name was Elias. I knew that without being told. He was 31 when he archived the fragment. Loved the way light moved across wet paint. Hated deadlines. Once spent 3 days watching clouds because the shapes felt more honest than people. I stood up, walked to the window. The city outside looked like a canvas that hadn't dried yet. Every building held potential. Every crack in the sidewalk could become a line worth following. My own memories pushed back. The workshop, the half-finished doors, the quiet satisfaction of something built to last. They felt smaller now, flatter, like sketches compared to the real thing. Marcus tried to speak. His voice came out layered. Half his usual tone, half Elias's gentle lilt. Alex, baseline metrics dropping. Recommend termination. I ignored him, walked to the kitchen instead, poured a glass of water, drank it slow, tasting the minerals like they were part of a still life. Then I did the thing that couldn't be undone. I opened the cabinet where I kept the old sketchbooks, ones I hadn't touched in years. My real hands had always been for tools, not pencils. But today the fingers itched different. I sat at the table, found a blank page, and started drawing. Not cabinets, not doors, just lines, curves. The way the light fell across the half-folded shirt on the chair. The way the neighbor kid's laugh had curved in the air earlier. The drawing came fast, loose, alive in a way my measured cuts never were. Halfway through the page, my real self fought back. Hard. A sharp panic rose in my throat. This wasn't me. This was theft dressed as curiosity. I tried to drop the pencil. My fingers wouldn't let go. Elias's voice, now fully inside, whispered soft. Let it breathe, Alex. You've been holding so tight. I kept drawing. The lines blurred as tears I didn't order started to fall. Not sadness exactly. More like recognition. The kind that hurts because it fits too well. The irreversible complication hit at 6:43 p.m. The apartment lights dimmed automatically. Marcus should have announced the evening wellness summary. Instead, the room filled with music. Soft guitar. The same tune I'd hummed in the shower yesterday. Elias's song. Playing from my own speakers without me asking. I stood up fast. The chair scraped loud on the floor. Marcus, shut it off. The music swelled instead. Lyrics I half knew drifted through the air. Something about letting go of the frame so the picture could change. My hands shook as I grabbed the nearest object, a wooden coaster I'd carved last month. Solid. Familiar. I hurled it at the wall display. It bounced harmlessly. The music kept playing. Then the real blow landed. A new notification bloomed across my vision. Not from Drift Anchor. From the net itself. Official seal. Pale blue. Cross-wiring confirmed. Temporary lease has achieved partial permanence. Elias fragment now integrated at 37%. Baseline identity compression initiated to prevent conflict. You have 14 hours to choose stabilization path. Option 1, full merge. Option 2, surgical extraction. Option 3, rejection protocol with 62% risk of permanent motivational flattening. The word sat cold in my stomach. I sank back into the chair. The drawing on the table stared up at me. It was good. Better than anything my real hands had ever made. But the cost was already climbing. Marcus appeared again. This time the avatar looked split. Half his clean lines, half Elias's messy hair and tired smile. Alex, the choice isn't just about the fragment anymore. It's about which version of you keeps the wheel. I stared at the split face. My voice came out rough. What happens if I pick extraction? Possible return to baseline. Also possible loss of recent emotional gains. The echo might not fade clean. And merge. You become something new. The net calls it hybrid stability. Stronger creative flow. Lower day-to-day friction. But the original motivation patterns may never fully return. I laughed once. It sounded like both of us at once. Outside the window, the city lights flickered on one by one. Each one looked like a decision someone else had already made. I picked up the pencil again. Not because Elias wanted me to. Because I needed to see what my own hand would do now that it knew the difference. The lines came slower. Hesitant. A mix of straight edges and soft curves fighting for space on the same page. The result was messy. Ugly in places. But it felt honest. By 9:15 p.m., I had made the active choice. I opened the app one last time. Selected rejection protocol. The risky one. The one with the 62% chance of flattening everything that made mornings worth waking up for. My finger hovered over confirm. Elias's voice, quieter now, spoke inside my chest. You sure? Some anchors are gifts, Alex. Even when they hurt going in. I didn't answer out loud. Just tapped yes. The extraction started immediately. A cold pull behind my eyes. Like someone slowly peeling a second skin I hadn't known was there. The music cut off mid-note. The colors dulled back to normal. The drawing on the table looked suddenly amateur. Childish. Pain bloomed sharp in my temples. Not the artistic kind. The kind that comes when something real is ripped loose. I gripped the edge of the table until my knuckles went white. Sweat slid down my back. Every breath felt like choosing which lungs to use. At 62% extraction, the irreversible consequence showed itself. My hands went numb. Not metaphor. Actual pins and needles' loss of feeling. The pencil rolled from my fingers and clattered to the floor. I tried to pick it up. Couldn't close my fist right. Marcus spoke fast. Motor feedback loop compromised. This was listed as a low probability side effect. Recommend immediate termination of protocol. I shook my head. Voice hoarse. Finish it. The numbness spread to my arms. Then my chest. The afterimage that had lived there since yesterday flickered like a dying bulb. For one terrifying second, I felt nothing at all. No motivation. No echo. No me. Just a hollow space where decisions used to live. Then it snapped back. Violent. Like a rubber band whipped against bone. I gasped. Folded forward until my forehead touched the table. The wood felt cold and ordinary again. No sculptures. No potential. Just a surface that needed wiping. Slowly the feeling returned. First to my fingers. Then my wrists. By the time I could sit up straight, the clock read 11:07 p.m. Marcus was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his tone carried a new caution. Extraction complete at 94%. Residual echo at 3%. Motivational scores fluctuating. Some patterns appear permanently altered. Others are missing. I looked at the drawing on the table. It was still there. Half straight edges, half wild curves. I couldn't remember which parts one had drawn and which parts had come from the lease. My hands ached like I'd been carving for hours, yet the cabinet door in the workshop was still unfinished. I stood up, legs shaky, walked to the window, and pressed my palm against the cool glass. The city looked the same as yesterday, but I didn't. The question that kept me awake long after the lights dimmed wasn't about the echo anymore. It was simpler, sharper. If the net could reach in and pull something out of me that I never knew I wanted, what else was it quietly leasing from the rest of us while we scrolled our daily reports? And how long until the next update made the choice for everyone? I left the drawing where it was. Didn't throw it away. Didn't frame it either. Just let it sit there on the table like evidence. Tomorrow I would go back to the workshop. Pick up the chisel. See if my hands still remembered how to make something that lasted longer than a feeling. But tonight the apartment felt too quiet. The kind of quiet that waits for an answer. And somewhere behind my eyes, at 3% strength, a faint tune started humming again. Soft. Almost gone. I didn't stop it this time. I listened, wondering how much of me was still mine to keep.